people in the United States have grown up with football in their lives in some way or another, whether that involvement would be playing the sport, going to a game, or just watching on TV. But what would happen if one day there were no more football as we know it? This is a question that has been asked by many throughout the recent years since the discovery of CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Football causes more brain injuries than almost any other sport, besides college wrestling. Brain injuries that can be very harmful and even life-threatening. Large numbers of kids and adults are being affected by these blows to the head while playing football each year. That's right, not only professional football players are experiencing the effects of these games. High school and college football injuries are very likely, and even more likely in high school than they are in college. I'll be discussing the discovery of the issue, the seriousness of it in adults and children, and what's being done about it. This problem was discovered while examining the brains of some very well-known football players who started to experience the effects of all the head trauma that they had gone through during their football careers. This discovery may have changed the way we think about football forever. The first discoveries of CTE were found in an adult professional football player. The prime example of these players is Mike Webster. Mike was a well-known football player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He died at the age of 50 after experiencing severe symptoms. Mike had become very irritable, confused, and forgetful. During his autopsy, they found several traces of CTE in his brain. CTE is a degenerative brain disease that can cause mood disorders and dementia. Following Webster's death came additional sudden deaths of NFL players. The findings were very shocking. The players had the same symptoms that Mike Webster had had. While their brains were examined, traces of CTE were also found. This information came from Frontline and Sears researcher. What can all this mean? Something serious is causing this disease in football players. The exact cause of the crisis is very obvious. These cases of CTE were caused by football. The years of wear and tear in their bodies was finally taking a toll. Concussion after concussion can cause severe damage to the brain and has life-lasting or even life-ending effects. This visual shows the repetitive hits affect the brain. This is preseason and this is postseason and this is during season. As you can see, during preseason there is lots of activity in the brain, all the orange areas. And it slowly starts to decline throughout the season, and postseason has the least orange areas, which means the least brain activity. This chart shows how concussion occurs, all the different parts of it: the start, the hit, bit, lock, lift, and drive. Even blows that don't result in concussions are now linked to onset years later of CTE, quoted from Wall Street Journal. So even the slightest blow to the head can have devastating results. The cause of this terrible disease is, in fact, playing football. It is starting at younger and younger ages. Found in the brain of recently deceased high school football players were even more severe traces of CTE. It is crazy to think that a person so young could have developed this disease so early in life after only playing football for a short amount of time. A recent study showed that football players are nearly twice as likely to get a concussion as college players are, as seen in this visual. Head injuries in sports. The green represents high school and the blue represents college. As you can see, football in high school outweighs college by almost 1/2. And football is the worst except for college wrestling, and it still outnumbers high school wrestling, followed by ice hockey, lacrosse, soccer, and then wrestling. That information was from PBS, Jason Breslow. After knowing this information, would parents still want their kids to participate in such a dangerous sport? What is being done about the issue? The majority of players don't find concussions to be a serious injury, so why would they take precautions? Several of my classmates have experienced concussions in high school football and didn't do anything about it, didn't even tell their coaches, they just find it to be a normal occurrence. Companies that make football equipment have attempted to upgrade their gear to make the game safer, but this doesn't come near to solving the problem. The NFL has also tried making new regulations and penalties to try to lessen the severity of it, but it still doesn't cover the cost. With this information in mind, I hope you learned something new about the dangers of football. The discovery of CTE in former football players' brains has made us realize how serious the effects of playing football are. The head trauma that occurs in the game can take a serious toll on players of any age, and not enough is being done to control it. Football is a very dangerous sport that is affecting large numbers of people each year with life-threatening consequences. Could this possibly result in a change of how we look at this huge part of our lives forever?